What's up, Life Group Leaders? Brian, I'm back for another video. We are entering week 8 of our Titus Save for Good series, and so we're kind of transitioning into this final chapter of this short and yet sweet and compact letter to Titus. And so there's only a few more weeks left in this series after this week. And then, believe it or not, we are in Christmas. We're in Advent season as a church. And so, like I say each and every week, I hope you've been enjoying this series in Titus. I hope that as you've discussed God's word, as you engaged with it week in and week out, that the Spirit has made you and many in your group more into the image of Jesus and less into the image of our world around us, which is one of the major themes in the book of Titus. And so last week, Drew concluded chapter 2 with just this call to remember the gospel, to remember grace, to be rooted in grace as your foundation. If you're going to grow as a disciple of Jesus and you're going to pursue godliness and holiness, you have to be rooted in grace. If you're going to embody these characteristics that Paul has been laying out since Titus chapter 1, you need to be reminded of grace. You need to be rooted in it because it's the only sustaining foundation. Every other foundation will fail you if you're not rooted in grace. So this week we move into chapter 3, and Paul's really continuing this argument that the gospel calls us to be different types of people. The gospel is radically countercultural. And so the overarching theme, I think, for these two verses is that though we are now citizens of God's kingdom, that doesn't mean we punt our responsibilities as in our earthly kingdom. Being citizens of God's kingdom or being followers of Jesus means it actually calls us to be faithfully engaged in our earthly kingdom. We don't say none of those things matter anymore because my citizenship is in heaven. No, we actually faithfully engage. In a lot of the ways that we faithfully engage is number one, we submit to our leaders. And imagine receiving this letter 2,000 years ago. 50, 60 AD in Crete. This church was experiencing extreme, persecution and opposition from their government. They wanted Christianity eradicated. And what Paul is saying here is saying, even though your government's opposed to your way, respect them and honor them, submit to them. That is radical. That is radical. And just imagine, these other words that he calls us to be: being gentle, speaking evil of no one. Those words 2,000 years ago still ring true today. Just think of our current cultural moment, politically speaking. We are very tribalized. We always speak evil of the other side. And how radically different it would be if we sought to build one another up and pursue unity, and to, rather than canceling the other side, we sought to understand. It's radically countercultural, and that's the whole point. Paul is saying we make the gospel attractive as Christians when we embody the characteristics of Jesus amidst a culture that's opposed to him. And so just think for a second, if we spoke gentle, if we were gentle towards one another, if we spoke kindness over one another rather than evil, and we sought to pursue unity and peace and respected leadership, that's going to stand out radically to the surrounding world around us. When Christians aren't tribalized, when Christians are seeking the good of others, even those they disagree with, even those that who they would believe are promoting evil, we actually make the gospel attractive to our surrounding culture and world. And so even the way we engage politically, even the way that we engage civilly as just citizens of an earthly kingdom, can either make the gospel attractive to the lost, or it can dull the beauty of the gospel to the lost. And so really, really cool conversations can happen in light of this section of Titus. I think one cool question could be, have you really ever thought of how your faith in Jesus is meant to influence your civil responsibilities? Have you actually ever thought that the gospel influences how you engage politically, other than what policies you give yourself to? Like, have you ever thought of that? It's even challenging me this week, and in the ways that I engage. And so, cool conversations can be had for this short yet compact little 2 verses. And so, in praying for you in your groups, I hope that these conversations are edifying. They help you grow in your love and likeness for Jesus, and that your group, again, has been just wrestling through these hard texts in Titus, but they're coming out on the other side looking more like Jesus, and or at least seeking to be more like him as they're empowered by his Spirit. So we are for you guys. Again, keep showing up. Like I say, each and every week, that's 90% of your job. Just show up and be ready to go, and just allow God's word and God's Spirit to work in your life groups. And so I'm sorry this video is coming out a little bit later than normal. This past week was wild, but again, wanted to make sure you guys were equipped and ready to go to lead your groups effectively